on this computer. So there we go. So hi everybody. Welcome back to class number 7. You can believe it. Holy cow. It has been time has flown, right? But we are on week number 7 for our applied metaphysics class for goal setting. And I'm super excited about this class and getting going. So tell you what, why don't we open this up with some prayer? And do I have anybody that would like to open us up with prayer? Would anybody like to say the prayer? Okay, no worries. All right, so if we just, everybody could just pause for a moment, and whether you close your eyes or whether you just use a soft gaze, I just want you to imagine that you're taking all of your energy, and instead of it going outside of yourself, I want you to imagine that energy is now all going into your heart. So all of your concentration and all your energy is going into your heart. And I just want you to imagine that there's this white light inside of your heart and that you can focus on it. And the more you slow down, the more you focus on this white light, I want you just to start to feel this because it's your soul, it's your spirit. And I just want you to imagine you're connecting with that part of you. And even if you've never done this before, just know that there's nothing that you can do wrong here. There's no right way or wrong way to do this, but it's just setting the intention like, hey, I just want to spend a moment here to really connect with my soul. And so for some, it's really helpful to put your hand over your heart or both your hands over your heart. It kind of it's a way of giving yourself a little hug. It's a little way of saying, oh, there you are. With all your busy comings and goings and life and kids and family and work and everything else we got going on. We're just pausing for a moment to just fully acknowledge this other part of us that often gets overlooked, gets ignored. And even by just spending a few moments here connecting with that part, it can make a really big difference. Because we're just acknowledging something that is always there. And it's always going to love us. It's always going to support us. It really is always wanting the best for us. And when you can spend time in this energy, whether you do it in prayer or meditation or walking out in nature, they're all just different forms of connection. And so again, just feeling that connection with yourself, and then start to imagine that connection growing to connecting with each other. Imagine this connection even going out further into our communities, neighborhoods, into our cities, into our state, all over the country, all over North America, and then just continuing to go out and spread all over the planet. and not only covering the surface of the planet, but also going inside of her. And just feel yourself connecting to all those people and to Mother Earth and to all of the animals and the critters and the water and the mountains and the trees and the spirits, knowing that we are all one, that we're all connected. And then imagine that light, that love energy that we're sending out, even going further out into the universe, out into the multi-universe. Just sharing our love and our light with anyone or any being that needs it. And as you stand in this moment, just understand that you're making a difference. Someone, someplace, some instance, some situation. And if you want to direct your energy towards a situation that comes to mind, send it. Knowing that you have the power to do that, knowing that we have the power to do that.
Tying together his little thing on the floor. Should be okay.
And then just letting it go. And just thanking Spirit. Thanking yourself. And just saying, thank you, Spirit, for bringing us together. Thank you for this time. Thank you for the shared wisdom. Thank you for the healing. Thank you for the transformation. Thank you for the understanding of whatever it is that would help you tonight. Get clearer and understand this process even more, to understand yourself even more. We are incredibly, incredibly grateful for this time. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Amen. Okay, awesome. Well, welcome everybody, welcome. It's good everybody is here, and why don't we just do a quick check-in. Again, not a big, long, drawn-out thing, but I think it would be really fun just to check in with everybody for, a quick check-in before we dive into the specifics for the class. And I'm just going to pick people randomly, and then we'll go from there. So why don't we start off with Karina? You're up. How are you? How is the class going? Any new ahas, awarenesses, or anything within the last week or so?
Well, I'm just thinking about today's class. I mean, I had a really good week, and I'm excited about hearing about what you have to say about surrendering, because that's kind of like what I did in the past. Like you know it's going to happen, but you just don't know how, when, just to see what you have to say regarding this. Other than that, I'm doing good. Enjoyed Halloween. So.
Wonderful. Yeah, the snow that we got on Halloween. Yeah. Especially for the people in West Michigan. That was a lot of fun. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Gina, it's good to see you again. How are you? How is the class going? Any ahas, awarenesses, or anything you'd like to share?
Sorry I missed the class last week. I was with family at my niece's wedding.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's been a great week, and I probably need to listen to your affirmative prayer section again. It was very interesting. Just thinking about it, I probably have a lot to learn and maybe practice, but no, it was very good. And glad to be here. Can I ask one question?
Of course.
How was the trunk or treat?
Well, I would say that it was probably one of the most magical days I've ever had in my entire time at Unity. It was incredible. We had 1,000 people.
Are you serious?
Oh, we had 1,000 people show up here. Yep. Yeah, it was from 1 until 4. You could not It was unbelievable. I mean, I'm not kidding you when I tell you that I sat there and I was at the registration desk the whole time, and I just, my mouth, I had to look funny, my jaw, because I was just like the whole time. It was like, it was unbelievable. It was amazing. It was incredible. The energy, the people were great, had some really beautiful conversations. The kids were awesome. People, volunteers were here. Yeah, it was incredible to say. It was seriously, I think, one of the most incredible moments I've had here since I've been in this position. It was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really, really amazing. So
Hooray.
yeah, hats off to, everybody. We made a big deal about it the next day as well. So yeah, it's very cool. Very cool.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're welcome. Awesome. All right. Joy.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, I was gone last week too. Sorry I missed. And this snow isn't anything. I was in Colorado, and I was at the Colorado State football game, and we had a foot of snow.
Oh my God.
It was crazy. The band couldn't play at halftime because they had to pick up the snow. So it was crazy. And then the kids were pelting the other players with snowballs, and they kept getting penalized.
Why? So I'm kind of curious. Why that game? Do you know somebody?
Yeah, my dear friend, my girlfriend, college roommate, her daughter goes there, and she was
Okay.
actually working the game. So she's in like sports marketing, and she was the one down there telling the football players when to run out of the tunnel and doing the little things like, kick a field goal and win money, and getting people out of the crowd. And so that was her gig.
Sure.
So we were there to support her in the cold.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
fun.
cool.
So I didn't get through the whole affirmative prayer, but I got through a chunk of it. That book looks really interesting. I'm interested in reading that too and
Great
learning more.
book.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah.
I didn't get through all the way, so I need to go back and finish. And then I have to teach my class tonight, so I do have to leave early, but I'm happy to be here as much as I can tonight.
Well, we're glad to have you here for as much as you can be tonight. So thank you. Thank you for coming. Scott, Mr. Dodsworth.
Hey, everybody. I'm right in line with a lot of people. I wasn't at last week's meeting either. My son decided that my car needed 2 new doors on the right-hand side and decided to have another car hit my car. So that was, an experience. I talked to Mike about it a little bit, and we both shared that it was like a rite of passage, I guess, when you're a young new driver. He's only 18, and well, actually he's only 17. This is his first. Thank God no one was hurt. But that was my evening last Wednesday. The course continues to be a blessing. I think for me, it's really a lot more about being with all of you than actually accomplishing one of my goals. But I'm still going to be focused on accomplishing goals, but it's wonderful to be with everybody.
Awesome. Thank you, buddy. I'm glad everybody's okay, for sure. Awesome. Janice, how are you doing? Good to see you again. I was kind of curious, how did your meeting with Chuck go on Sunday?
Really good. Really,
Yeah.
really, really good. He helped me to release things and told me things that I already knew, like closed throat chakra and things like that. So it was really good. I'm glad I made it.
Good. Yeah. Well, we're glad to have you. So just so everybody is aware, and this is going to start to become public knowledge, is that we've got somebody that comes in and does a type of Reiki, although it's not exactly Reiki, but it's energy healing. And he is offering his service to us it's going to start being on a regular basis. And so he comes in, he sits down with you for 10 or 15 minutes and does his thing. It's usually on Sundays, and next month it's going to be, I think, the second weekend. I can give you a date real quick. It's going to be December, I think, 10th Yeah, it's going to be December 10th at 8:30. And so he's only seeing 5 people at a time. And we're going to open that up to first come, first serve. So if you or anybody you know needs that and wants to come in and have a session with him, they're free. The only thing he asks is that you make some type of a contribution to Unity, but it's not like he's sitting over your shoulder and looking and seeing what you're giving at all. He's just saying, hey, if you thought that was helpful, that would be great if you could do that. So anyways, awesome. I'm glad it went well, and some things, like you said, that you knew, some things you didn't know. How's the class going? Anything coming up for you during the class?
I'm just grateful I'm able to show up. So yeah, things
Hey.
can't pinpoint exactly,
Yeah,
but it's good, and I'm glad you're here and everyone is here, and that I am here too.
amen. Me too. I'm glad you're here too. Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool. Kara, how are you, dear? I haven't seen you for a while. It's good to see you.
Hey, it's good to be back.
Yeah.
Yes, I missed the last few classes, but I did want to say that actually the week that we did the affirmations and denials,
Yeah.
maybe that weekend,
Mhm.
I manifested my first goal.
Say that
Uh,
again. You did what?
I manifested my first goal.
Oh, congratulate. Yay. Yay, 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 yay. That's awesome. Tell us about it.
So I haven't had my own car in over a year,
Okay.
and I have been working on manifesting it for maybe about a year as well.
Mhm.
And as soon as I started doing the denials, like doors just started opening for me. So I was
Mm.
miraculously get a car
Mm.
out of thin air. So that was really cool for me.
Beautiful. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm very excited for this class because I know surrendering for me
Yeah.
has always been the challenge and kind of just letting go and letting things happen. So
Yes.
I'm excited for today.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, thank you for being here, and congratulations on your car. It's always nice to have things show up when we're working on our goals. So congratulations on that. All right, I am going to share my screen. So let me attempt to do this once again. Why? Oh, there we go. Okay, there we go. All right, so let me go over here. Let me go slideshow and play from the start. All right, Joy or Gina, you're the only ones I can see. Do we have my main screen on there? Can you see it? If you could just give me a thumb. Cool. All right, we're good to go. All right, so I just want to review last week real quick for everybody that was here. You know this, or if you saw this stuff, we talked about prayer. It allows you to access parts of us we normally don't have access to. There's many different forms of prayer. We talked about that, and affirmative prayer allows us to call upon spiritual principles that we have access to. So we talked about this the whole last class. As I went through it, and I've been sharing this with you, that often after a class, I'll sit there and look at things and go, I think I wish we would have done that a little bit differently. And what I realized is that from now on, when I do this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to differentiate that as you go through the 7 steps that we talked about in the process. I said last night, if you watch the entire video, I said, oh, I wish I would have had you do steps 1 through 5 before you go into prayer. And so figuring out what your thoughts, feelings, and what the condition is that you want to work on, figuring out the purpose of doing what it is when you go into prayer, and then using the actual 5 steps, which is I open, God is, and I am. All of those can be done before, and should be done before you start the process. So that's why I kind of redid this a little bit. I didn't redo it. I put a hard line between those steps 5 and 6. And I just said, write steps 1 to 5 before going into prayer. And then steps 6 and 7 will happen during prayer. So remember, in the process, what you're doing to explain it very easily, all you're doing is you're looking at a situation that's going on in your life and you're imagining like, I wonder what divine principle I could call forth that would really be helpful. And part of the process of learning how to do affirmative prayer is studying what the different principles are. I also said in last week's class that I don't believe that the 12 powers that Unity uses is a definitive list. And then so I included actually some more. I have a friend of mine that does a class on angels, and she has 22 angels that she uses. And some of those were the 12 powers, but not all of them were. And I believe we have access to those principles, if you will, and even more than that list. So it's not a definitive list. In my opinion, because of who and what we are, we can really call forth anything that we're needing regarding a particular situation that we think would be helpful, and embodying whatever that principle is, and then applying it to that, and then having a new awareness. And that's really what happens in step 6 when you say, I can, I have, and I know. Once you go into the prayer process and then you state, I am whatever the divine principle or principles, because you could apply more than one principle to any given situation, then all of a sudden you start to realize things and you're able to look at things a little bit differently in terms of what you're able to do based off of that new awareness and that new feeling. We went through all of this last week, so if you don't understand this, you don't have to worry about it. You can go back in and watch that recording, and I go through the whole entire thing. And then we'd wrap it up with I appreciate. So I wanted to show you the difference, but wait, that's not all, right? So I also wanted to tell you, as I thought about it, I really think that for me, there's a couple other things that I add to this process. And I just want you to know this, that look, the 5-step prayer process, number one, if you remember last week's class, what I said was that there was the original 5-step prayer process that was talked about in Unity Forever. And then that book kind of updates it, if you will. And then what I would say is, yeah, well, I'm updating it too, because I think there's other pieces that I think are as important. But what I want to tell you is, look, it's just this idea, or this, it's your intention. That's the thing that matters more than anything. What is your intention for going through the process of doing affirmative prayer, right? And so, yeah, we've got this list, these 5 things, with adding the first 2 that happen before you do anything with the condition and purpose. But then when you actually go into I open, God is, and I am, and then you embody this thing. So you still have that. But in my opinion, I wanted to add a couple of more things that I think are just as important. Now, just because I think they're just as important doesn't mean that you're going to think they're just as important. So I just want to let you know that as I share these things, if this stuff doesn't resonate with you, then don't use it. It's okay. It's fine. Okay, so what are those things? So my additions are setting an intention for the entire thing, asking for support, total acceptance of what is, and then surrendering it. And when I talk about surrender for this process in particular about prayer, I'm not talking about surrender that we're going to talk about tonight, although it could certainly be applied. Okay. So what does that look like for me? Okay. So for me, before I do anything, I want to set an intention. So for me, normally using prayer, I want to set the intention for complete healing and transformation, although it could be a transmutation as well. But I think I really meant to type in transformation in there, right? So normally, before I do anything, what is my intention for this prayer that I'm going to do? For me, it's normally setting an intention for complete healing and transformation. So what will I say in that case? I set my intention for complete healing and or transmutation of any or all limited beliefs or perceptions I have through all time, space, dimensions, and realities about the situation. So again, now I'm starting to layer some different nuances when I say through all time, space, dimension, and realities. I heard somebody do that, I don't know, a couple of years ago, and I just love that, because then I'm covering everything. So I don't care. I don't care where it's at, when it's at, what dimensions it's on, or what reality is. I want to clean it out, like through all of it. So number one, I like to set an intention. Number two, I always am going to ask for additional support. So whether it's my higher self, my guides, my angels, my master teachers, my ascended master teachers, anything else of the light that there is to support me, I am going to ask it for help. So for me, it sounds something like I invite my higher self, my guides, my angels, for any support that can help and assist me during this process, right? So I'm going to invite I'm going to ask for the party to show up, right? Because I don't know what's out there that can help me, but if it's willing to help me, count me in, right? So count me in. All right. The next thing that I think makes sense is a total acceptance of what is, to avoid spiritual bypassing. So you've been hearing me talk a little bit about this over the last couple of months, it's been a while, but every once in a while you'll hear me start to talk about it. And I just wanted to talk about this because I think until we're willing to accept everything of what's going on regarding the situation, that if we don't accept it, then we're doing some form of bypassing or denial. And I don't want to be involved with that. And I would suggest that you may not want to be involved with it either. So I just wanted to talk about spiritual bypassing and what is it? It's describing a tendency to use spiritual explanations to avoid our deep core wounds. By engaging in spiritual bypassing, we ignore the deep inner work that needs to be done in order to heal. It's skipping over or ignoring negative thoughts. It's a disallowing or avoiding or ignoring one's own feelings. So that's kind of my take on what spiritual bypassing is. I'm sure you could go look it up online. There's probably some other information on spiritual bypassing, but the bottom line is this: it ain't good, folks. It's not good when we spiritually bypass. And so I don't want to have anything to do with it. And I would strongly recommend you don't either. Okay? So what will that look like? A total acceptance of what is to avoid spiritual bypassing. I totally accept and own all of the facts and feelings I have about the situation now. So I'm owning it, the whole thing, whole kit and caboodle, right? Not denying it. I'm accepting all of it, of whatever the situation is. So for me personally, that's extremely important because in the past, I've had a tendency to spiritually bypass. So I want to make sure I'm not doing that. All right, the last thing that I'm going to add to it, and this is the part that we're going to be talking about in depth, but in terms of the prayer process, the last thing I'm going to do is surrender or release control. And it's just simply a prayer that says, I surrender to this healing process to do what is necessary to allow my healing to occur. I'm not ignoring my part of the process. I'm willing to go through whatever is necessary to heal. I'm willing to look at my own stuff, right? So I'm going to add those 4 pieces to an already crowded process. And if I do that, then what it's going to look like is something like that. So now I've got set intention, invite any help, talk about what the condition is, I accept what it is, then I do purpose, open, God is, I am, and then I have, I know, I appreciate, and then I surrender. And then so I broke it up just like I did before. I write up the steps 1 through 8 before going into prayer, and then steps 9 through 11 happen during the prayer itself. Okay, so that's my update. That's what I've concluded and wanted to add to it after the fact. You're invited to do whatever you would like to do. Like I said, if some of this does not resonate with you, then don't use it. For me, I find it to be extremely helpful. Okay. So if we take that and now we add it to, and we're getting closer and closer to our final steps in our goal setting process, is now looking like identify the goal, visualize it, create an affirmation, identify any limited beliefs, create a denial and affirmation for any limited beliefs, create a daily plan to practice your affirmations and denials, add some powerful emotions, determine what actions you'll need to either take or let go of. That was 2 classes ago. Last week was use affirmative prayer for any areas that you need help with. I don't know why that you need. I'll have to change that. Anyways, okay. So I'm going to turn off the share screen for a moment, and I'm just going to open it up for any questions anybody has at this time about anything, whether it was last week, affirmative prayer, or what I just covered before we jump into tonight's topic. Any questions or comments? Yeah, before we.
I got a
Yeah.
question that just came up. I don't know if it's related to that, but I was thinking, what if you visualize? I mean, I've visualized so much in my life that actually came through, and you visualize a certain thing, and then you always, it's like you go 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It's not coming to realization. Actually, it's the situation almost gotten worse. So what do you do when, if something that this has never happened to me before, but this particular thing,
Mm-hmm.
that you just cannot manifest it?
Yeah. So there's number one, that's a really big question, right? So what do we do when something isn't manifesting that we really, really want? I'm going to spend quite a bit of time in our last class going over that specific question, because I just think there's a lot of things that could be going on. There isn't one answer, like this one thing caused it. And number one, that's number one. Number two, the thing I'm going to say is, I don't know the answers to all the questions. Like, I can give you some really good ideas. I can tell you in my life when things haven't manifested that I really wanted to have manifested, what happened with me. Now that I'm to the point to where I'm past them not showing up, and now looking back, because writing this class, I've spent a lot of time looking back at times when things didn't show up. And so, it's kind of, it would be very, in my opinion, irresponsible for me to say specifically, well, this is what caused it. Because the truth is, I don't know what caused it. But I've got a lot of different things that I'm going to go over in next week's class that may have caused it. I would probably start off with some things like, well, what about your thoughts? What about your words? What about your actions? Are all of those in alignment with what you're trying to create? Have you gone in and identified all of your limited beliefs? Have you created denials and affirmations for any limited beliefs? So, I'm going to go through down the list that we've gone through just to see that. And then if it's still like, no, man, I'm rocking. I've got a great attitude. I'm keeping my energy high. I'm doing everything that I possibly can, and it's still not happening. I don't know. I mean, honestly, I hate to say this and make it a cop-out, but the truth is, maybe it's something carried over from another lifetime. Some of you believe in that, some of you don't, and that's okay. I don't need you to believe in that, but I do, and I do know that sometimes that can carry through in the following lifetime to try to clear anything out. And so if that's the case, that's when I'm really going to be doing I'm going to go deeper into my own healing process and really concentrate on using some deeper prayer and deeper meditations to go and try and clear that stuff out. So I don't know, number one, what's causing it. There could be some surface level stuff that may be causing it, or there could be some deeper stuff, or there could be some deeper stuff. It just depends. So there's a lot of answers to that question. And I don't want to guess at this point in time. Maybe it's something you and I could talk about off camera, and I could see if I could help point you in the right direction. And minimally, we could say a prayer together and just clear everything out. In my opinion, though, Karina, I will tell you that if you really, really want to know what's going on, and you set the intention and you go into prayer with the intention, hey, I'm wanting to know what is going on with this on a soul level. My belief is that the answer will come. I'm not saying that it'll happen right at that moment, but I will say my opinion is that eventually it will come to you in some way, shape, or form. It might not happen immediately, but if you're being sincere about your own healing and your own awareness and your own divinity, because of who and what you are, it can't be withheld from you. It can't, because that's not the way the universe works. It's not. So anyways, I think that's a lot. So yeah, so that would be my original crack at it, but I know that's a little bit of a cop out, but like I said, we'll be going over some more of it, and if you and I need to speak about it one-on-one, then we can make that happen for you. Okay, cool. Anybody else, anything else before we dive into the training for tonight? No, we good? Okay, cool. Erica, good to see you, dear. All right, go back to, well, let me go here. All right. Cool. All right, so now I'm going to go back in. I'm going to share my, the good news is after 7 weeks of doing this, I'm kind of getting the hang of it. Yeah. All right, here we go. Cool. All right, so is everybody seeing my screen, the power of surrender? Yeah, thumbs up. Cool, thanks. Thank you. All right, so let's talk about surrender and why surrender? So I'm just kind of curious, like when you think about the word surrender, what comes to mind? And I'm just going to open up the floor before we dive into it. So again, you don't have to answer the question, but I know some of you already have. But it's funny because energetically, one of the few comments that you've made are the exact same way I feel when I think about surrender. And for some people, it completely freaks them out. But when you think about surrender, what happens inside of you, and what thought or two do you have on that you might want to share? And anybody can just jump in and comment.
I guess I think of letting go and letting God. Getting myself out of the way, getting my ego out of the way, trusting, having faith, and letting those works come through me, move through me. But I got to get out of the way to do that. Surrender.
Love it. Beautiful. Love it. Thank you, Scott. Anybody else? When you think about the word surrender, is there anything that you feel or think about when you think about surrender that you might want to share? Yeah, Karina.
Yeah, it's just a saying, you do what you can do, and what is it, the serenity prayer, and you let go what you can't fix. You do what you can do, and the rest of it let go and let God, like what Scott said too. But also, you know, in your power, you've done everything you could possibly do. It's some sort of also surrender to trust.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Love it. Thank you, Karina. Anybody else? Surrender. What's the big deal with surrender?
Well, you have to give up control, and that's hard to do, at least for me. And so
why do you have to give up control, Erica?
Well, I mean, obviously it depends on certain situations, but sometimes you're your own worst enemy. And so you just have to I don't know how to explain it, but that's in my mind how I think of it. Because I get in my own way a lot of times. And so if I would just give up control and give it to spirit or the universe or whatever, then maybe things might work out better for me sometimes.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's interesting, right? And I think that I hear you, and by the way, I'm not picking on you, but I'm just curious in some of these things, like, well, why? Because I think sometimes when it comes to some of these more metaphysical principles, if you will, I'm kind of like the person that's going to question everything, and so I'm all, why do I got to surrender, right? Why? Who says I got to surrender? Because the truth is, you don't have to surrender. You don't. I'm not saying it's going to make things easy, and certainly in my own life, when I didn't, it didn't turn out real well. But the point is, I didn't, and I was just kind of curious as to why we think we have to. So I love the question. I love you saying I have to do this. Good. If anything, invite anybody to question, well, why do we have, anytime I say you have to do this, I want people to go, why, Mike? Why do I have to do that? Anyways, awesome. Okay. All right. Anybody else before we jump in? We start diving into a little bit.
Do you know, I find it hard just to allow another solution other than what I've come up with,
Yeah.
you know, and sometimes that's not the best answer.
Yeah.
Sometimes letting go and letting God and being quiet and sort of thinking things through is not always my first choice, but it's, you know, I feel like I need to do that more.
Beautiful. Yeah. Right. I mean, I believe me, I know. I mean, especially, and here's where it gets really tricky, right? Especially if you've been successful in the past using a process where you don't surrender and you've had success with it. It's hard to go, well, I want to surrender this thing over to God, especially if that is something that you're struggling with, this relationship with this thing called God, whatever that is. So yeah, I totally get it, Gina, and I've been there and I struggle with it still at times. I struggle with it at times. So cool. Thank you for sharing that. All right, so let's dive into a little bit here. I'm going to start off just like I did last week and talk about what is not surrender, because I think there's some confusion with this. What is not surrender? Giving up. That is not surrender. What is not surrender? Shirking our responsibility. That is not surrender. What is not surrender? Not caring. That is not surrender. Anything else that comes to mind that, in your opinion, is not surrendering? Any other thoughts or ideas? It's kind of a short list. I was hoping for more, but that's all I came up with when I did this. Okay. Then if that's not surrender, then what is surrender? And I got a whole bunch for this one. So what is surrender? So, and again, just understand something. This is my understanding of what surrender is. You might have a different understanding and it's okay. So I'm not telling you Mike's got all the right answer when it comes to surrender, because I don't. I got a lot, but maybe you've got one in there I never thought of that I would totally love to hear about. All right. First of all, it's a necessary part of the final step. I got to type in the word step of the manifestation process. So surrendering is part of the process. It's just as important as every other step that we've talked about so far, right? It's where we let go of any control and we let go of any attachments to the results. And that's the part where the ego starts to freak out and says, oh my God. You mean I got to let go of the attachment to the results and I got to let go of any control? Yes. It's one of those divine dichotomies. It's a divine paradox. Well, wait a minute. If I let go of control and I let go of attachment to the results, then am I still really trying to manifest something? Absolutely. And we'll talk about why you want to let go of control and why you want to let go of the attachments to results in a minute. It's also letting other aspects of self help you, whether it's your higher self, whether it's your angels, your guides, your master teachers, ascended master teachers, spiritual family, angels, the list goes on and on and on. But you're just saying, hey, when you let go, you're saying, hey, anybody out there, help. I need some help. And that's why, for me, one of my steps that I added to that prayer process was asking for help. I just think that makes a whole lot of sense. And by the way, it just doesn't have to be, you know, these dimensions of you. It could also be asking help from friends or an expert or a coach or a mentor or whatever. Asking for help. All right. Surrender is resting. We finally are just going to rest. We'll talk about that in a minute, more in a minute. Surrendering is trusting the process, and that is having faith that things will work out without being overly controlling. Okay. Last but not least, it's a full acknowledgement that you have done your part to the best of your ability. So it's an acknowledgement. You're acknowledging yourself. Yeah, I've done everything that I could about this. And last but not least, I'm going to put in there, it opens you up to receive feedback. And I put in parentheses the scientific method that I'm going to talk about for just a quick second. So when we're trying to manifest something, we're going to be taking actions and trying to figure something out. How do I do this? Whatever it is that you're trying to do, you're trying to figure out how to do it, right? And in that process, you're going to come up with an idea. Hey, I should try this. And then what we're going to do is we're going to try whatever it is. And then it's either going to work or it's not. No matter what, you're going to get feedback. And once you get feedback, you can change your approach. Even if it's keep using the same approach, it's still feedback and you're still continuing on with the same approach, or you're changing your approach. That is called the scientific method of figuring something out. You come up with a hypothesis, you test your hypothesis, you get feedback, and then you adjust whatever it is that you're doing. So that is called the scientific method. And when you surrender, you're open to looking at things and saying, hey, is this thing working or not working? Whereas if you're not surrendering, you are so stuck and can get, not always, but you can get stuck on, it must work. This has to work. I got to keep trying this thing. Even when it's not working, I'm going to keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. And as the saying goes, the definition of insanity is continuing to do the same thing, getting the same results, and not doing anything about it, right? Not doing anything about it. All right. So what are the benefits of surrender? So just a couple of things. It allows you to enjoy the process. Well, wait a minute. I want to go back here. Would anybody add anything to that in terms of what is surrender that is in this list? Again, this is my list. It's me going, I think that sounds about right for me. Is there anything that you would add to it?
Looks like a good list.
Thank you. Cool.
Maybe just not to think about anymore about it anymore. Just let it, like when you say resting,
Yeah.
you know, just it's like when you put a book on the shelf and you just put it there and
Yeah. Love it. Awesome. Okay. Cool. And then again, I'm just going to kick into here some of the benefits. It allows you to enjoy the process. It allows you to relax. It helps you with peace of mind, eliminate it's all up to me mindset, and it accesses other parts of yourself and your spirit. So again, those are just some of the benefits. Now, I want to talk about this idea of surrender because it actually, believe it or not, it's in the Bible, but it's labeled as something else. So can anybody take a wild guess? When you think about surrender, what might be an equivalent that's used in the Bible? And I'm going to give you a little bit of a clue. It's something at the very beginning of the Bible that's talked about that's very much like surrender.
Faith?
Well, of course, faith is always in there, but no, it's something a little bit different, but that's a really good guess, Joy. Really good.
I was going to say renunciation, but I don't remember that at the beginning of the Bible.
No, but good. Again, all these are great. They're really, really good. Anybody, any other guesses? The beginning of the Bible, the creation story.
Yeah, it just comes to mind that you work 6 days, on the seventh day you rest. I don't know.
Yes. And what is that day called?
The Sabbath.
Yes. Bingo. 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 Karina gets a gold star. So remember, on the sixth day, God finished work that he or she had done, and he or she rested on the seventh day. So God blessed the seventh day and hallowed or consecrated it, because on it, God rested from all the work that he or she had done in creation. Okay. Fillmore talked about the Sabbath in a little bit of a different way in that. So the Sabbath, what is the Sabbath? It's a day of religious observation and abstinence from work. It's a day of rest. Okay, that's the classic definition of the Sabbath. But you know, us Unitarians, our Unitics, or whatever you want to call us, we're not Unitarians, by the way. That's a whole different religion. We like metaphysics. So what does the Sabbath mean metaphysically? It's a consciousness that we have fulfilled the divine law in both thought and act. So it's not actually a day of rest, it's the consciousness. So in other words, we've reached a consciousness that we have fulfilled the divine law in both thought and act. So we have done everything that we could do. And that's what the Sabbath is. Fillmore has some really great quotes on the Sabbath. All is finished first in consciousness and mind, then rests in faith from further mental activity. The rest proceeds manifestation. So again, the resting, the letting go, the surrendering precedes the manifestation. We've got to let go and just let the thing do what it does. The seventh day refers to the mind's realization of fulfillment. We understand that this thing is going to happen. It's resting in the assurance. I would say that should be assurance that all has been imagined and it will come forth in expression. And that's what happens, is that we just simply let go. You know, I use a story. Anybody that's flown in an airplane, and I just want you to imagine this. You're coming into final approach. You're getting ready. You're getting closer. You're getting closer, and you're getting closer. Have you ever noticed what happens just before the airplane hits the ground? What does the pilot do? He backs off. Why? Because there's nothing for him to do. He's done everything he could do. The only thing the plane needs to do is land. And I'm not talking during an ice storm or heavy winds or anything. I'm just talking about a normal landing. The pilot brings it in, gets everything lined up, does everything that he can do. It starts to come down. Eventually, the pilot basically doesn't let go, but he just stops and he lets the plane do what the plane does and just lands. That's what happens, right? What else does he say about it? The true Sabbath is a state of spiritual attainment where humankind ceases from all personal effort and all belief in their own words and rests in the consciousness that God, abiding in me, does her works. We rest from the outer world. We cease daily occupation and give ourselves up to meditation, the study of things spiritual. So we literally are letting go. We just let it go. We've done the work. We've put in the work, and now it's time to let God, let universal principles, whatever you want to call them, do what it is that they do. Last but not least, it's now time to let go of the work we have done and rest in the Sabbath, trusting God to complete the process of manifestation. Our part in the creating is done, and we know that all is well, right? So Fillmore was all over it in terms of the metaphysical interpretation of this. Now, I'm going to tie this in a little bit in terms of something that we spoke about a few minutes ago in terms of just surrendering and why it's a pretty good idea to consider doing that in the whole process. And I'm going to talk about this concept called your plan versus the plan. Anybody that has seen me for a while knows that I occasionally will bring this up. So there's your plan, and then there's the plan, and guess what? They're not always the same. They're not always the same, right? Because in your plan, I'm just going to show you some different things that take part of it. And again, this isn't a complete list, but I just want you to understand that you've got basically your plan or the ego's plan. But what are the other things that are impacting it? Oh, you've got your soul's plan that might be different than the ego's plan. What else? You've got whatever the present moment is calling for, which could be completely different than what you originally thought you were going to do. And I also put one more thing, which is a collective consciousness plan. So in other words, sometimes it's not just about us. There's other people involved in that. Those people could be people at work. They could be people in your family. They could be people, human consciousness. We just don't know. So you've got all these different parts. And then all of that is basically ties into creating the plan. And the plan takes everything into consideration. And so therefore, sometimes our plan doesn't match the plan. Anybody ever have that experience? And if you're not raising your hand, you are lying.
My entire life is this.
Yeah. So there you go. So that's why surrender is so important, because the truth is there might be something bigger, better, faster, stronger for you. But if your ego's all set on this is what I need to do, then that's where things can get. That's why it's so important to let go of not only control of whatever's going on, but also the results of what's going on. It's letting it go and trusting. You know, there's a famous quote by Dwight Eisenhower, and what he said is in preparing for battle, I always find that plans are useless, but planning is indispensable. Another way of saying that is planning is essential. It's a really good idea to have plans, but planning is essential, but plans are useless. And why is that? Why did Eisenhower say this? Any guesses?
Because you cannot foresee things. I mean, when you talk about battle, because the other, say, just with the statement, the other part, the opposite, you know, might have a different plan too, and then your plans are useless. You know, just like when we fought the war with the British, they did not expect us to win this because they probably thought, you know, we had a different plan. So in that sense, but also that because like you said, some plans are timing, and yeah, and it just sometimes God has a better plan for you, or even though you have a manifestation about things, but it's going to be even better.
Amen. Yeah. Amen. Perfect. Karina, that's a great way to put it. Anybody else have any comments on that at all?
2 cents. The planning is the work. It's this, and in many ways, it's the spiritual work for us in this sort of the way we've been working on things. It's the affirmations, it's the denials, it's the spiritual work, it's the prayer, and then the plan. The actual plan are useless because at some point the key is, like we're learning today, is letting go. At some point you plan and plan and plan, you do all the planning, and that's the work, but at some point you have to just simply let go and let God. You have to surrender.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. Any other comments about that? You know, I was thinking about this as I was preparing, and I thought to myself, if you were to go ask any football coach, and I don't care if it's high school, college, or pros, right? They're going to go into a game with a game plan that they think is going to be successful. In other words, nobody plans to lose. Nobody does. And so they have plans that this is what we're going to do. But the greatest coaches, my experience has been, the best coaches out there are able to adjust. And that's why you will literally watch this. I think it fascinates me when you watch any type of a game, any time of an event, whatever, especially in football, just because I'm more familiar with that. But it happens in a lot of different things. But the adjustments that are made, sometimes it's done at halftime, and you'll see a team come out and, you know, they're just getting blown out. And then all of a sudden they'll go into halftime, and then they come out and then they've made adjustments, and now they're doing better. And it's just about making the adjustments, because we don't know everything that's going to be going on at the time, and we have to be able to adjust. And so that's why I love this quote, and I just think it's one of the reasons why we need to learn to surrender, right? And so, having said that, what I would like to do now is, because there's actually going to be something else that we're going to talk about. So this is not going to be just about surrender, there's one other thing I want to talk about tonight. It's not just surrender, but what I'd like to do is I would like you to spend a couple of minutes and create a surrender statement. It could be as simple as I let go and I let God, right? Or it could be a little bit more. But having a surrender statement that you can use on an ongoing basis will help you. And again, if it's as simple as I let go and I let God, then awesome. Or you could come up with one a little bit more. I'll share mine. But what we're going to do is we're going to have you write a surrender statement, and then we're going to have you share your surrender statement with everybody else. We're not going to break up into groups. I'm just going to have you read it real quick. But here's one of my surrender statements. I have a few. I now release and let go of any and all control of my goal to my powerful source, or my higher self. I will move forward in faith. I will trust myself in the process. I'll listen to my heart and follow any intuitive hits I get, right? So whatever your surrender statement sounds like, again, it could be as easy as I let go and I let God, but I like to add a little bit more to it. So I want you just to take a couple of minutes and write yourself a surrender statement, whatever that means for you, whatever that sounds like. And I'm going to give everybody just a couple of minutes. And so take your time, but know that you've only got a couple of minutes to do this, and we'll go from there. So take a couple of minutes and write a surrender statement. Okay? The recording. Okay, then I'm going to stop the share. Cool. So, all right, I'm just going to grab people. Scott, what's your surrender statement?
I just keep it simple. Let go and know that I am.
Oh, I love it. Beautiful. Love it. Cool. Gina.
I will listen in quietness for insights and a path forward.
Beautiful. Awesome. Love it. Love it. Love it. Karina.
I put my trust and faith in God's hands.
Beautiful. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Janice.
I allow my inner child to heal and be nurtured. Through
Mhm.
her, my world will be a delight.
I love it. That's really beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Erica.
Whatever comes, let it come. What stays, let it stay. What goes, let go.
Beautiful. Awesome. That's really, really beautiful. Okay. So we'll go back to sharing my screen. Go back here. Oop, Share, don't end. All right. So what I wanted to do is, I mentioned this book last week and I have it, and they've got a beautiful prayer in here about surrender. It's actually, the title of it is called Releasing Control. And I want to share it with you, but I really would hope that you would experience this. So it's just going to take less than a minute for me to read it, but if you could just kind of get yourself into a space of receptivity, whatever that means for you. I want you to feel this. I want you to receive it. Is this beautiful prayer about releasing control. And this prayer is the following: I thank you that all resistance of faith in my highest self and soul are healed and dissolved. I thank you that my heart's connection to my higher realms eases discomfort and my fears of letting go. I thank you that I may freely and easily subdue all tension and unrelenting grasp of all now and future decisions to allow the best coincidences for all involved. I thank you that my soul, spirit, and conscious self are willed to fall freely and unconditionally into God's sincere and secure palm. I thank you that every cell and every dimension of my body and ego release all control to my powerful source. I thank you that my infinite power of love allows me to let go of all binding and forceful actions, and that I am free from the necessity to abide by intentions and decisions of my ego. I thank you that I easily release all fear on becoming lost in the ocean of nothingness. I am one with God's breath of being. It is now so. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Amen. I love this book. It's got amazing prayers in it. Again, get the book. Get the book. All right. So, step 10 is surrender. And I just wanted to give a little bit of an overview of it, because that is the next the 10th step in our process of manifesting. And now we're going to talk about one where you're going to laugh, because this is a divine dichotomy. This is a divine paradox, because as I tell you, hey, the last thing that you need to do is let go. It's not quite the last, but it's pretty close. And the very last thing you need to do, believe it or not, is stay focused. Wait a minute, Mike. Didn't you just tell me I got to let go of this thing? Yep, I did. Yep, I did. And now you're going to tell me I got to stay focused. Yeah, I am. It's just one of those funny things, right? So let's talk about that for a minute. First of all, just because we surrender our goal over to spirit doesn't mean we stop our continued focus. We need a plan in place to make sure that we're continuing to give our goals a necessary focus until it manifests, even though at the same time we're surrendering everything over. And creating a plan lets the universe know that you're still allowing the goal to flow with you, because what can happen, and by the way, guilty as charged, is that you can spend all this time and effort working on a goal, planning the goal, doing the affirmations, doing the limited beliefs and the denials, figuring out what I need, everything that we've gone through. You can take all of those steps and then you quit focusing on it. And what I'm going to tell you is, if you don't keep a little bit, and that's really what we're talking about, a little bit of energy going like, yeah, by the way, I'm still paying attention. It's like, if you just let that go after you put forth a little bit of effort, my personal experience, and some people may be able to dispute this, and if they can, that's fine. I'm not saying this has to be true for you, but my experience is, if I spend some time focusing on something and I let it go and I never go back in and think about it again, it doesn't show up for me personally. I don't want that to be your truth, but it certainly has seemed that way for me. So to me, this ideal of staying focused is this idea of, again, going, yeah, my energy is still wanting this thing to show up. Okay. So I want to talk about what that looks like for me, and understand as I share my plan what that looks like for me. It may not be your plan. I'm just suggesting that you have some kind of a plan to maintain a certain amount of focus. And for me, I broke this down into a brand new goal. What does that look like in terms of focus and attention? A goal from 0 to 12 months, and then a goal over that, anything greater than a year. So you can come up with your own plan, but this is Mike's plan. And you can copy it if you want to, but you don't have to, okay? So what does my plan look like? There it is. So I've got this broken down into 3 types of goals: a new goal, a goal from 0 to 12 months, and then anything greater than a year. So what do I do with a brand new goal? Here's what I do. For the first 10 days, every day, I review my thoughts, my words, and actions and see if I need to adjust anything. I will literally do the intentional meditation that we recorded and you guys have access to through these recordings. And I will do that every single day because I want to match the vibration of that goal, and I'll do it for 10 days. I'll do my affirmations or whatever the goal statement is. And anyways, I'm going to talk about, I've renamed that particular point because remember, not every single goal that we have is going to have limited beliefs around them. And if you don't have any limited beliefs around a goal, then you don't need to create affirmations and denials. You can just have a goal statement. And so anyways, I'm going to differentiate that moving forward. But for right now, originally when we talked about it, I called it an affirmation. And then I said, if there's any limited beliefs, then you do your affirmations and denials around the limited belief, right? So that's what it's going to look like from a new goal for me. I'm going to spend 10 days. I'm really going to marinate on it. I'm going to bake it in. I'm going to spend a lot of time on it for those first 10 days. Now, the other thing I will tell you is when it comes to your limited beliefs, in terms of your affirmations and denials, if it's still feeling funky and it's not feeling good and it's not feeling clear, then I am going to continue to do those. So I'm just sharing that with you, that if anything in here isn't feeling right and I'm paying attention to the way that I feel, I'm probably going to continue doing this stuff, depending on what it is. It might be review my thoughts, words, and actions. It might be more intentional meditation. It might be more affirmations. It might be more doing affirmations and denials for any limited beliefs that I have. So it just depends, right? Again, there's no one way to do this. For goals, 0 to 12 months, what'll I do? Usually, I should put 10 days to 12 months, right? Because I've already got the first 10 days, so it's not technically 0, but say after 10 days to 12 months. Once a week, then I'm going to look at this goal. I'll review my thoughts, words, and actions. I'll review my affirmations. And if there's any limited beliefs, I'll go over my affirmations and denials. And then usually once a month, I'll do my intentional meditation, again, just to help me make sure that I'm letting the universe and reminding myself, oh yeah, by the way, aren't you still trying to manifest this? Yes, I am. Okay, cool. Any goal that's greater than a year, then I do it on a monthly basis. I'll review everything, my thoughts, words, actions on a monthly basis, my affirmation, limited beliefs, and denials, just to make sure everything is cleaned out. And then maybe once a quarter, I'll do an intentional meditation just to go, oh yeah, that's right, I still want this thing. So why am I doing this? Why am I sharing this with you? Because in my opinion, you need to continuously let the universe know, like, hey, by the way, I'm still working on this thing. And for me, this feels right. It's the adequate amount of time, effort, and energy of me engaging with the universe to let the universe know, hey, by the way, I'm still working on this thing. And it just keeps it in my mind so that I'm being focused. And that's the whole point of step 11, is to stay focused and not get off track. Okay? So I'm going to send you a worksheet that just simply has this breakdown, and it looks something like, and I'm going to send you this sheet. So we're not going to do it tonight, but my suggestion is that you spend time going over your plan on staying focused. So I just broke it down into what I just had: new goals, 0 to 12 months, and then greater than a year. reviewing these things. Now, again, that timing may be a little bit different for you, which is fine. You may have something you want to add to this list. Fine. You may have something you want to delete from this list. Fine. Doesn't matter. It's just, how are you constantly staying on top of your stuff? And by the way, and we'll be talking about this a little bit more next time, is, oh yeah, and then you've got greater than a year, same thing. So they're all three doing the same thing. All three of them, how often am I going to look at this stuff for my new goals, 0 to 12 months, and anything greater than a year. And by the way, my strong suggestion, going back to the first class, is that you really try to get yourself a binder where you can keep all this stuff together. It's very helpful to really create, and I will put together a 1-page, here's the entire thing that I do for each and every goal, because ideally what will happen is you're constantly going to be having new goals. You're constantly going to be working on new things showing up. And so you're constantly going to be adding to whatever it is that you're trying to manifest, because you are a divine creator, and that's kind of what we do, right? So anyways, I will send you a sheet with the breakdown like this so you can create your own plan, and that's going to be one of your homework assignments for the upcoming week, okay? I don't know why I put this here, but anyways, just some book references. This should go after the summary. Yeah, so let's do the summary. Surrender is as important as any other one of the steps. One of the last things you can do is to learn how to surrender your goal to spirit. Just because you surrender your goal doesn't mean that you quit focusing on it. And last but not least, creating a plan of still focusing on your goals will help you continue to send energy and let the universe know you're still allowing the goal to flow to you, which is the whole point of the thing. So having said that, then what does that mean in terms of our goal setting process? The goal setting process is pretty much now complete. And so what is it? It actually winds up being 11 steps. Okay, so what are those steps? Again, identify the goal, visualize it, create a goal statement, identify any limited beliefs, create a denial and affirmation for any limited beliefs, create a daily plan to practice your affirmations and denials, add some powerful emotions to your affirmations and visualizations, determine what actions you'll need to either take or let go of to accomplish your goal, use affirmative prayer for areas you need additional support in. 10th, surrender to spirit, and last but not least, stay focused. And that's it. So we have basically now identified the 11-step goal setting process that we've gone through in this entire class. And that is going to be it. I'm going to send you a copy of that and probably make, when I talked about creating a worksheet so that you could actually do one for every one of your goals. I'm going to work on that this week coming up. So then your homework for the week is going to be create a surrender statement. We've already done that. Add surrender to your process as one of the final pieces. Determine how you'll still focus on your goals after you surrender them to spirit. And last but not least, continue to focus on your goals based on the time of not competition. How about completion? I got some typos, folks. I got issues. All right. So I'm going to quit. I'm going to stop share. Where are we at? There we go. Okay. Questions, comments, delusions, dilemmas, paradoxes, confusions about either surrender or focusing? You good? Okay. All right. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn that. That's going to kill the recording. So how can I? Why? Stop. Hold on just a second. I don't want to do that. I won't. There we go. Let me do that. There we go. That's what I needed to do. And then what I need to do is I need to move this off of there and move that. Perfect. That's beautiful. All right, a couple of things as we wrap up the class for tonight. I just want to make sure. So everybody knows that we're doing our charity project is to Second Chance Cats of West Michigan. The last date for the collection is on November 26th. We've got a list of things that was sent out. You can't see this. I know you can't because the computer's not focusing on it. But anyways, Karina's the one that found this organization, and we appreciate that. And if anybody has any questions, I'm going to tell the congregation that what I would like to do is see at least us raise a total of $500 between either cash donations to the organization or items needed. So we've already got a box set up in the lobby for this stuff, and we're making the announcements. I'm not sure if we've got the announcements on our website, but I'm going to make sure it gets on there as well. So if you've got any questions, again, the last time date for collection is going to be November 26th. So whatever's in your heart, whether you can afford to throw a couple of bucks at it, or you've got something, items they need, there's a whole list of items they need as well. Okay, so that's going to be.
Did you send this out to us?
I don't know if I did or not. I will. I'll make sure that everybody gets it in the email I send out with tomorrow with the recording. Okay.
Hey,
Thank you.
Gina, I put it's in the newsletter at church.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
I put it in last week. So
Cool. There you go. So it's in the newsletter, which is great. I'm going to ask Erica and Scott, who have graciously volunteered for our gathering, if they have any additional information in terms of time and or where.
I sent it out. Did you not get the email?
Maybe. Cool. All right.
Well, only one person's responded, so I didn't
Okay.
know if everybody got it till Gina responded to me. So,
Okay.
actually, why don't you talk about it, Scott? Because you're the one who came up with it.
Yeah, well, it was Mike. What was the place that we talked about?
Yeah, Cascade
Cascade
Roadhouse.
Roadhouse. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Cascade Roadhouse is the place I threw out just as an initial time. 6 o'clock is when we meet, right?
Yes.
So since we're already meeting on Wednesday at 6 o'clock, the thought is that most of us should be available Wednesday at 6 o'clock for the day of the celebration.
Mhm.
Erica had said we can adjust that time though, for people at the end of since it's close to the end of the workday, to push it back a little bit. But so things are flexible, but that's the idea. The place and the time is, and
Right.
I guess that's what, December, or is it still November? Which
November
Wednesday is that?
29th.
The 29th, thanks.
So that's Wednesday, November 29th?
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you for pushing it to the week after Thanksgiving. That's great. That's awesome. So first of all, thank you both for picking that up. And so again, what are we doing? We're going to get together and share a meal. That's what we're doing. And that sounds wonderful. So that is a great time to get together and break bread and spend some time with each other. And that's really, really fun. So thank you for doing that. One last thing before we close the meeting tonight. Next week, I've got a board meeting. Cannot do Wednesday. So I'm going to guess here, and if somebody stands up and screams and shouts, then we'll figure out a plan B. But just like we did last time, I was just going to push it until Thursday night, same time, same place, just do it on Thursday night. So anyways, yeah, so just to be aware of that, I will also put that in my email to everybody so that you know that we will be meeting next Thursday, not next Wednesday, same time, same place. And then after that, the week after that, and that brings up an interesting point, because normally what happens, and we'll talk about this again next week, and everybody think about their thoughts on this, but normally what happens is not next week, which will be week 8, which means we're done with all of the course itself. Week 9 is usually when we do the fundraiser, whatever the activity is. So in the past, for example, we have gone to like a homeless shelter, or we've done some work at a different nonprofit or whatever. That week is normally set up for that. Obviously, that is not what we are doing this time. So next week in 2 weeks from now, there's going to be an opening. And so we can decide, what do we do? Do we just let it go? Or do we think about if there's something else that we would like to do? So just think about that in the For What It's Worth department. Other than that, thanks everybody for coming. I hope this has been helpful. You've got your homework to do. And I'll send out a video in the morning with any other things that I told you I would send you. And any questions or anything else comes up in between now and next week, don't hesitate to reach out. Other than that, God bless you. And we will see you next week.
Thank you, Mike, for putting this together.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Great.
It's been really fun. I'm tremendously grateful. I've learned a lot, and you have been wonderfully supportive, and I'm tremendously grateful for that, for each and every one of you. Okay. Have a good night. See ya.
Night.
All right.
Everybody.
Good night.